Hi Homeworthy, I'm Geri O'Toole. Welcome to my home in Limerick, Ireland. Come in and I'll show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Geri O'Toole. I'm an interior designer and this is my home in Limerick, Ireland. We bought this house 10 years ago. My son was 1 at the time, he's now 11, and it was a derelict cottage, so we've completely renovated and extended it. We basically loved the location that was here because it's so close to all amenities, but you still feel like you're in the countryside, so that was really important to us. And it was definitely, a diamond in the rough, if you like. It had not a lot going for it, but we had the imagination because my husband is a contractor and I'm in interior design, so we bought it. Growing up, my late parents were very much involved in industries that had aesthetics at the core of what they were doing. So my mother was in interior design and she did painting and art as well. And my father was really into and made a career from selling and buying really unusual and rare antiques. So I was reared in an aesthetics household. So interior design felt like the perfect thing for me to study in college. And I've been working in it now for 17 years, which I can't believe. And I absolutely love it. And I formed my own company about 8 years ago. This is the living room and I knew I wanted an open look fireplace. That was one of the key focal points in my mind when I was designing this space. So I had this beautiful breccia marble mantelpiece, bespoke made, and this is always really interesting because it obviously has the open fireplace look, but it doesn't actually have a chimney. So this is a bioethanol fire you can light and it doesn't need to have a chimney. So you get that lovely open fire feel, but without too much heat, and it's quite easy to use. So in the inside of the fireplace, the chamber is actually done in an antique French brick that I sourced, and I got them, they were all little slips, so I got them all cut in half, and then I did just a lovely brick pattern. I wanted the chamber to feel nice and open and inviting, so we love lighting this in winter time. Not today because it's 27 degrees today. This is a lovely accessory made by an artist that contacted me on Instagram, and she makes beautiful lighting. I think her name is Clay Mist, so she actually made this vase especially for me, and I love some unique pieces like this. Behind is a reproduction mirror, but it's done in that Eglomise style mirror, so it's really smoked and almost dirty looking, some might say, but I love that look. Beside the fireplace I did oak cabinets and just have all of my personal bits and pieces, so some framed pictures. My son loves to play chess, so we have the chessboard there. I love picking up trinkets in auctions. So these are all little bits and pieces that I've picked up in auction, and I just love that each one has a story. This one is really pretty actually. It's an old snuff box. Not that I use snuff, but I just love the look of it. So that's really cute, and you can open it up and it's stamped inside as well. Then I have some other unusual pieces like this hand-blown glass, and this is incredible because it's actually so thick and solid. So it's done with layers and layers of glass, which is really fascinating to me. And I love how vibrant the color is. Also in this space, architecturally speaking, we have a lovely corner window, which I think is lovely because this room is so full of glazing. It gives such a nice connection to the outside. So this room is particularly my favorite when it's lashing rain outside and we want to feel cozy. You almost feel like you're outside because of the glass. Another lovely thing about this room that makes it feel very warm is the materials. So on the floor I did a bordered parquet floor, and it's in mansion weave pattern. And this floor was so fascinating to see installed because it literally came in hundreds of pieces, and it was like a jigsaw fitting it together. So the fitters did a great job, and I just love the element of pattern and interest it brings to the floor. Also in here, because it's a flat ceiling, I knew I wanted to have another finish on the ceiling. So I actually did wood on the ceiling, and that was tricky to figure out with the curtain track because I needed to sink the curtain track into the ceiling to make it nice and seamless. So that took a little bit of figuring out. But again, Cathal, my husband, figured that out again. So that's great. We love the curtains in here because they're voile, but they're natural material. So if it's nighttime and we're sitting in the living room watching TV, we just push a button and those will close, and it feels really kind of cozy and private in here. In this room, to zone it, I did a lovely large area rug. Again, this lovely rug is Oam from my rug collection. I bespoked this coffee table because I couldn't find anything I wanted. So I came across this beautiful green, vibrant marble, and I just made up a base for it. This sofa, I love this about interiors. You know, you wouldn't think a contemporary sofa like this would go with a more traditional looking kind of linen sofa, but it shows you can mix both and they can be really interesting. So this is like an aubergine velvet, and then this one is a really relaxed kind of woven linen, and I love the mix of both. And then I just did some bespoke cushions from my studio in some nice fabrics with little pink undertones. And I love interesting cushions. It's such a thing an interior designer is going to say, but I just love nice fabrics, and I absolutely love these cushions. So when I was looking around in auctions, I found these incredible lamps. They are a ton weight, and if I was buying them in a shop, they would have been super expensive, but I got a pair of them for an absolute steal. So I love these lamps. I do intend on actually changing out the shades for something more patterned. I just haven't got round to that yet, but I will do that. Then I put in a faux olive tree. A tree wouldn't really survive in here. It gets quite warm and then it gets quite cool as well. So I just put in a faux one, and I put in a little uplight that I plug in so it lights it up at night, so it looks really nice. And then again, my little pieces of art that I buy at auction, I thought that guy was really fun. And again, I love these little stands. They're like plate stands, and I use them for dotting pieces of art around the house. What I love most about my home is probably this kitchen space. In the old cottage, before we renovated these outhouses, we had a beautiful kitchen and we really loved it. But the ceiling height was like a standard cottage ceiling height. It was like 2.4 meters, and the walls were very deep in the old cottage. So there wasn't a lot of natural light. So in this space, there's tons of natural light. Because we raised the roof, we have those upper windows which pour light in from every aspect. And I just feel like the vaulted ceiling gives such a sense of airiness and space. So I think that's my favorite. This is my kitchen space, and I'm going to chat to you about the banquet area first. So here I wanted to design something that felt kind of cozy and intimate. There was already this existing stone wall, and it was limestone but very, very grey. So I wanted to brighten it up because we already had a lot of wood in the kitchen. So I actually colour drenched it in a colour called Woodland Light. So it made it kind of a nice soft backdrop. And I added some lighting to pick up on the contrasts of the stone, which is quite nice. Then I've added a collection of artwork, one by an Irish artist, another one I got at auction, and that's by an artist over in the UK. She does beautiful abstract pieces. This banquet was tricky enough to pull off because it has curves underneath. And I really didn't want to have the edging on here. So I put a shelf down further and I covered it in this fabric, and it's mohair. So it feels amazing and it brings a little bit of green into the space as well, but it's still quite a subtle green, which I love. Then there's another couple of artworks that are Chinese watercolors. They're antique and I got them reframed. The table is a stone material, so it's actually like a travertine. And I just love the effect of the travertine, you know, with the fabric on the banquet. And then I love statement lighting. So I put this one in. It's actually discs of alabaster. So it's lovely and dominant in the space, which I like because the ceiling height is good. So I wanted to have a feature piece. And then these are the dining chairs. So we make them bespoke in our studio, and I went for a beautiful Parisian fabric from a fabric house called Pantry. As a busy person, I love coffee. Coffee is life for me. So I knew I wanted to have a coffee station in the renovation. So I actually recessed this whole nook into the wall because the walls are quite deep. And actually this evolved because there was a steel in here. So I've hidden it with a cabinet. So you can always be clever if something doesn't go very well in your build project or you've changed your mind on something, you can always find a workaround. So I hid the steel pole in here, but I still have some storage in there, which is quite handy. And then I've done these lovely patinated brass handles, and I did marble backsplash, but I kept the worktop in decked on. So it's kind of stain proof, which is ideal. And I just love coming here in the morning and having a coffee and starting my day. In the space, again, being a lover of statement lighting, I knew I wanted something really wow in the space. So I found these beautiful plaster lights and I put 2 of them over the island, and I feel like they just break up the ceiling height when you come in because I have a really tall wall of cabinetry and it's all oak. So these are the perfect contrast. One of the things I love is original art. So I had the perfect wall space left here to get a piece commissioned, and I wanted something bold in color just to bring energy into the space because this is our kitchen space. So I found this amazing artist online. His name is Aaron Romain, and I told him what I wanted and he nailed it. So that lovely vibrant green and pink, which gives a lovely contemporary feel. And I did a John Cullen picture light over the artwork. These picture lights are really good because they've high color rendering index in the bulbs. So if you have a piece of art that you want to keep the color in, these are really good for artwork. I'm standing on a runner that actually I designed. I did a full rug collection with an Irish rug company, and it was really enjoyable to create my own designs and to use them in my home. And I just love the way a runner can bring pattern and a little bit of color to space as well. This wall behind me is kind of the main focal point of the kitchen, and I love wood, I love natural materials. Because I did this limestone floor, I wanted to have wood as the main focal point to contrast. So I ran the wood right up to the ceiling, and I have doors either side of the cabinetry. This one goes out to like a playroom space, and it's quite handy that I put in reeded glass because it allows light in, but you don't see the mess if there is a mess behind there. Here I have the fridge, which is integrated, the freezer, and I also actually integrated my ovens because I wanted that really clean view as you walked into the space. So when I need to use my oven, I just open that up and use it. So I love that. I have this wall of oak. So I stain the oak with my joiner in a color that I love. It kind of keeps the color of the oak, but it makes it a little more browner and washed out. So we worked on that together, and it's great because it's a really robust finish. So we've actually already been in this home for 2 years in the renovation piece, and it gets a lot of wear and tear, but it still looks great. So that's the beauty of using oak in your kitchen. Then these bar handles, I went for quite long, sturdy bar handles, and you can see they actually already have a patina. So I like that they've developed all of the finger marks and aged look, because it just feels a little bit more, you know, understated to me. So I love those. One of my favorite features in the kitchen is the walk-in pantry, because we keep our air fryer and toaster and things that I don't want on the kitchen countertops in here. So it's great. We have that reeded glass so we can keep it tidy looking. And I've just done lots of open shelving and some drawer storage, and nice brass brackets with the marble. The marble has this like gold fleck in it, so I feel like the brackets really pick up on that. And yeah, it's just a very hard working space. In this run, I've done all under counter cabinets in oak to tie in with the main oak wall in the kitchen. I've done a worktop that I've actually done a waterfall to bookend at either side. And I feel like the waterfall just breaks up the look of the wood on this run. I also did this apron sink look where I just dropped down the marble at the front of the sink. I love the sink because it's a large sink, so you can hide so many things in here and keep all of the mess out of the way. The marble is actually Calicata gold Italian marble, and I just fell in love with it because each piece of marble is different. So it is a natural material. So it's definitely lived in, because we've been here 2 years now. So it's not perfect, but I love it taking on a life of its own. And I have a hot water tap. They're really popular in Ireland. So you just push it and you get your boiling water. So we don't need to have a kettle on the counter. So it keeps it kind of clutter free. And here I did an induction hob. So I kept it pretty minimal. I actually love the look of a cooker hood, but because we have these windows above, I needed to do something recirculating. So this worked in quite well. And I just keep all of my pots and pans, spices and everything I need for cooking right here. And then the other side, I have a really long island, which is great because it fills out the space so nicely. And I get all of my storage in here. So all of the Delf, all of the cups, everything. And they're in drawers, so they're easy to bring to you. I think the island is almost 4 meters, so it's quite a long island. And that means if you do go for a stone material, you need a join in it. So I had to join my marble in the center, but I just popped a fern plant in the center and nobody even notices the join. Again, to bring personality to the space, I love bringing in a lot of my own artworks. And this is quite unusual to probably have a piece of art just on the countertop. But what I did was just a little brass stand, and I picked this up at auction. I don't actually know if it's Japanese or Chinese. Somebody can probably let me know. But it was just a beautiful piece. I loved it, and I framed it up in this and I sat it on the stand, and it just brings a little bit of difference to the kitchen. One of my favorite features of my home and kitchen is this arch. It wasn't that easy to create because this stone wall is actually the old wall of the outhouses. So we had to break through to get an opening. And luckily my husband is a contractor and can figure out how to do lots of things. So he broke through the wall, the stone wall, and then put up a steel frame here. And then we molded a lovely arch around it. And I've brought in obviously the curvature in the banquet. And then I've another 2 arches in the kitchen, which give a lovely cohesive look to this arch. This recessed arch here, one thing we did actually was put in these small little uplighters, so it cascades the light beautifully around the arch. And then we had these bespoke doors made to fit to go into the living room. And then I echoed that again with the coffee station arch. I spent a little bit of time in London and I worked in one of the shops over there and got an understanding about antiques and reproduction furniture. And I really got the bug over there, if you like, for that interiors world, and also the luxury homes that you'd see over there. So it just gave me so much more passion to bring something like that back home and to make it my career path. So the cottage is 19th century, but it actually had some outhouses as well. So what I'm sitting in now was actually old piggeries and cow sheds, and we extended it and raised the roof and made it our modern living space and connected it with the old cottage. It was a series of outbuildings out here. There was the main old little cottage that's where our bedrooms are now. But yeah, this was really in wreck and ruin. And sometimes I look back at the old photographs and I actually can't believe it. It was so horrendous. So we're really happy with how it's turned out. I think making a home livable is quite a tricky one, because I'll see a lot of clients and they might be, you know, going for the most robust material that can't stain and can't, you know, take on a life of its own. And I would come from a different angle on that. I've used lots of natural materials like limestone, wood, marble, and because they're natural, they can stain, they can etch, they can take on a life of their own. But because I was reared with antiques, I don't mind things developing a patina over time or being imperfect. And I would say those are the things that actually make it feel a little more homely and less sterile or clinical. So I would say to people to embrace natural materials. When I've posted some videos about my home online, it's gone viral several times, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's nice to know that our home translates to different cultures and different countries. I found that some of the comments I was getting online were, oh, it's very European cottage aesthetic. I didn't even know that was a term. I suppose I live in Europe and it is a cottage, so I loved that phrase because I think it encapsulates kind of the feel that I've created here. This is the entry space. It links the old cottage to the outhouses we renovated. And this is the old gable wall, which was the existing stone wall that we broke the arch into. And that continues into the WC. And also we have like a library area here as well. This is the WC. So we did a bespoke arch door in here. And because again, we had that stone wall, I wanted to color drench the space because it has good height in here. So I color drenched it in this color called, I think it's peat. It's this lovely, rich, earthy green. And I did a viola marble sink. And we also created that arch again that we have going into the kitchen. And I painted it and color drenched it. That was quite interesting to do because we had to cut into the existing stone wall. I also backlit the mirror over it. And then I had some tiles left over from the pattern I did in the hallway. So I did those around the WC. And again, I have some of my original art that I've picked up in auctions in there as well. This is the library space. And again, I had great ceiling height in here. So I did bespoke bookcases and I added a bronze rail with a ladder. And with the bookcases, I did some marble as the countertops. And I also did two-tone wood. So you'll notice like almost this spine at the back of the bookshelves. And that's in a darker oak. And I also did that framing out the bookshelves as well, just to make it a little more interesting. And we have a chair here. This is often where we'll sit down and take a phone call. And I love it, especially at night, because when you're walking into the hallway, it's all backlit, so it makes this space really dynamic and interesting. Again, in this space, you'll see a mix of modern accessories and also antiques that I've picked up. So these are quite interesting. They are a Japanese tea set I picked up at auction, and they're really special because when you drink your tea, there's actually a geisha in the cup, which I thought was fascinating. Also, I have some more modern pieces here. These And you'll have noticed by now I absolutely love natural materials and marble. I got these bespoke made. They're all made from marble in different colors, and we sell these in our studio. We love them for styling because they're so interesting and unique to look at. And then I have some other trinkets that I've picked up at auctions, like silverware. And I just love having different pieces that have their own story. This is a lovely sculpture that's done in copper, and it's actually oxidized to give it this lovely kind of greeny hue, which is really beautiful. This is the entryway of the hallway, and I love this space because it's actually quite a hard working space. This is the entrance we use all the time. So when my kids come in from play school and school, we store all of their stuff over there, but we just have this beautiful antique table and a little tray for our keys as we walk in. This is probably the most important piece of furniture in the entire house for me because, as I mentioned, my father was an antiques dealer and he sadly passed away quite recently. And he gave me this piece probably about 8 years ago, so it's even more special now. And he had a great eye for antiques, and this is quite a unique antique because it's quite streamlined and minimal in the leg. It's an 18th century piece and it has its original pink marble top on it. And then I bought this beautiful mirror in an auction over in the UK. That's 17th century. These are from Corston Architectural, so they do lovely modern lighting and light switches. So I did those in the entryway. And this is a lovely piece that's by an Irish ceramicist called Jim Turner. So I just love the color of this, and it's handmade. So I really love the beauty in that too. So over here, I'm going to talk a little bit about how hardworking this space is. So you can see behind me, there's a whole wall of cabinetry, and it functions for a couple of things. One, for all of the storage, coats, shoes, everything we need to store. And also it does bring you into the link of the old house hidden behind a door, which I'll show you in a second. This is quite a bold patterned floor, and I think it shows that you can actually use several floors in your home if you want to. I have this one in the entryway, wood just slightly in from that in the library area, and then it's limestone in the kitchen. I love the mix of having different floors to zone spaces and make them visually interesting. This is another pattern that I have on the ottoman in the hallway. So this is where my kids will sit down and put on and off their shoes. And again, it's by that lovely fabric house, Pierre Frey, and I love the injection of pink for a little bit of fun and color. How I collaborate with my clients usually is I develop their style with them. So I lean into their personality, and I know that some people will say they've looked at some of my projects and yes, there's an earthy, natural theme in some of them, but then I have some clients who like really colorful and bold and modern, you know. I think that's fun as a designer because you're trying to pull out the client's personality and reflect it back to them in their design so they feel really comfortable in their home environment, because that is what we design all the time. It's people's homes, it's dream homes. So it's really important that we pull the client's personality out, even if they're not sure what their style is. I think one of the best things is to be true to yourself. So there's so much imagery out there now, there's so much content online. I find one of the things that reoccurs all the time is, you know, clients don't know where to start. They don't even know what their style is. So I would help them and look through images, and we'd keep coming back to certain core themes. And then, you know, listen, you're being true to this part of yourself. And I want their homes to be very timeless. So it's important to be true to what they want to live with and not follow trends or things that are just popular now, because they need to have longevity. So I think always come back to, you know, your own personal style, develop an online Pinterest board, and come back to the core kind of design details you like. This was actually the old kitchen that we had in the original cottage, but since we were gaining so much more space in the vaulted space I showed you, we made this our primary bedroom. So in this space, I wanted it to feel really relaxing, really calm, and I did a textured wallpaper along the long wall. That's by Philip Jeffries. I absolutely love the texture of their wallpapers, and it brings in a coziness to the bedroom. I did a beautiful fabric that is almost like waves, and it calms me, and it has a little bit of blue and white. And then this lovely bed throw is by an Irish designer. It's Enhance by Maria Fenlon. I love these because they're very understated and minimal, and they just dress up the bedroom quite easily. And again, I did, to make it more contemporary, a really large bolster cushion just to dress the bed. I also love these bedside tables. They're kind of curved at the front, they're handleless, they're quite modern looking. And again, the oak is kind of contrasted with that marble on top. And to light the bedside tables, I did these beautiful pendant lights dropped from the ceiling, and I love the brass chain, and I can dim those, so I just love the way they pop out against the darker wallpaper. So in this space I wanted to add a curved sofa. I love, again, the softness of the shape in a curved sofa. I sometimes sit here and do like meetings on my laptop if I'm stuck at home a little longer before getting to the office. I've also done this beautiful organic shape coffee table, which I love, and I think it works in well with the curved sofa. Another thing I did, because this room is much darker, because it has the thicker old cottage walls, I added in the uplighters into the window reveals. And with the fabric I did on the Roman blinds, it's a really woven, textured macrame type fabric. So the light really hits that beautifully at night and makes the texture pop out. This is our primary ensuite. I wanted to have a big shower space. This room isn't huge, so we tried to maximize, you know, what we could get out of it. So what I did was create a nib wall around to frame out the shower, and I used Breccia Capraia marble that has this lovely veining in it. I did a stepped detail architrave with that, and then in the shower itself I went for this decked on that almost looks like sand. It's a travertine effect, but it's really robust. It's totally stain proof, so it's ideal for a busy shower space. We also did like a hidden drain and hid some lighting in the coving. The vanity actually is bespoke as well. So we did the top. It doesn't have a traditional sinkhole in it. It just has like a line, which is lovely and contemporary. And we hid some storage in the wall for products, and I also added some storage underneath. And also on the floor, I added a double herringbone pattern with a border, which I love. It brings great texture to the floor, which I think really suits the space. What gives a home a soul for me is a personality coming through. So in my home, I've collected art that I love, bits and pieces that I really like. I think it's important to lean into what you like, to not have it feeling too much like a showroom or, you know, a specific genre of style. So that's what I try to lean into with my clients. I ask them, do they have their own personal pictures or pieces that have a bit of a storyline? And I think that's what gives a home soul. So out here is one of my favorite spaces, especially when the weather is this good. We love coming out here and hanging out with the kids and the dogs in the evening. I can't take credit for all of the beautiful planting, because that was my husband and a friend of his who's amazing. And basically my brief for them was like an organic, natural kind of feel to the flowers and plants. So I love that they kind of frame out the architecture in the space. Over here is where we'll sit down in a nice evening. We've got like a sofa set, which is really relaxing. The kids love sitting out here and the dogs will be playing away outside. I love these pots. So they're basically concrete and they've been acid washed. So it gives them like this aged look, which really suits my taste and style. And we've done fern plants in them. There's a lovely acer at our front door and we've an acer back here as well, but they just are lovely and vibrant. And I actually was saying to one of my team members today on the design team that I want to bring some of these pots into our interiors because I love them so much. So they're good for inside and outside. I love when friends come over and entertaining, or if, again, it's nice weather, which isn't that common in Ireland, but when it is nice, we can come out from the kitchen space and sit and entertain here. And we just love this little nook. It has all the old stonework from the original outhouses, and we've that natural slate as well on the roof. So I love that mix of old and new in the architecture. And behind me you can see there's a contemporary link that brings the old outhouses together with the original cottage. It was a bit of a challenge to bring the outhouses in with the existing old cottage. So we worked with Des Ewing Architects, who came up with a great concept of linking them together that brings the old and new together quite well. I love this outbuilding. It's actually our garage / gym, and it's done in this black cladding with a black zinc roof. I love in the morning, I come from my primary bedroom, I walk along this path and into the gym, and I love the gym in the morning because it sets me up for a busy day in the studio. Home is safety, it's my quiet space, it's where I come to shut away the world. My business is really busy, thankfully, and it's go, go, go when we're in the office. So I love coming in and switching off and being with family, hanging out with family. We spend lots of evenings together cooking and hanging out at the weekends, and it just feels like a safe sanctuary place. And I think that's what everyone should aim for if they're decorating their homes. Thank you, Homeworthy. It was lovely showing you around my home in Limerick, but you have to go now. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.